Today we're going to talk about showing a Persian cat, how you groom them and what judges look for. So we're going to be using Ted. Ted is my blue Persian. He's 14 months old and he gained his premiership when he was just 12 months, which is quite good going because you can only show a Persian really, or really any pedigree cat, or indeed the household pet section now, must get that right, once a fortnight. So Ted's shows were very nearly done in 2 months. He's also been shown as a kitten, and he did very well as a kitten, getting Best in Show kittens, and he's a multiple Best to Breed winner. Now, blue Persians, as you can see, they're not really blue, they're a sort of grey colour. And what you're aiming for is a nice even coloured coat. Ted's actual coat at the moment, you can see there are these sort of long hairs just above the main part of his coat. So a blue Persian, or indeed any dilute Persian, is actually bred for the undercoat, which is this very soft part here, and not these sort of longer horn hairs which carry the darker colour. For a judge, when they're looking at Ted, they will be looking at something called the top of head here, which is the width between the ears, the placement of ears, which they like to have it low down on the head. So you can see he's got quite a nice broad top of head. It's actually more than 4 fingers, more than my hand really. He's getting to have a lovely skull just here. Are you going to sleep, Ted? They also like to have a nice stop, which is this part here on the nose, and they like the nose to be broad and short, and they also like them to have good nostrils and a good nose leather. What is classed as a firm chin, meaning that when you look at it from the side, Ted will just turn, from the side, it's in line with his upper mouth, so that's really quite nice. A judge will also look at a cat for balance. So if you metaphorically drew down the middle of Ted's face here, and then across, and looked at the quarters of Ted's face, you would see that they all sit quite nicely, and he's got quite nice chubby cheeks, just there. Okay. They also like to feel the skull to make sure that it's not bumpy, that there are no dips or anything else there, and they also like to have a look at a bite. And as you can see, Ted has a lovely bite. If he'll let you, put your chin down, Ted. Right, there's Ted's bite. It's a lovely bite. It's as near level as possible, and it's classed as a scissor bite. So that's really, really good. And it's part of the standard list of defects that he has to have a straight bite, and that his teeth need to be aligned, and that he's not undershot. So he sits very well as a very young Persian, because they're not mature Persians until they are perhaps 3 years old, maybe even older for type. And of course, if he opens his eyes for you, which he will do at some point in this video, you will see that he's got lovely round eyes, and they're a lovely, lovely deep orange colour. Can you see his eyes? I hope so. And his whiskers, of course he's got whiskers, so he should have those. These little bits here, just popping out of his ear, are called feathers, and you sort of look at those as well when you're grooming. And paws. When you're showing a cat, doesn't matter which breed again, you have to have the nails clipped. So if you're a very experienced person and you know what you're doing, but if you're not, you go to your vet and your vet will do it for you. And that, of course, is very important. They have something also called a ruff, do Persians, and that's this bit here. And it comes down, deep down, round and down into the chest area. If Ted will stand, I will try and show you that he actually is quite a cobby cat. Cobby means that he's almost square in shape, with nice short limbs and a short little tail. Now, there are lots of myths about Persians. Most of them are true, that they are very kind cats, very quiet cats, very sort of, I don't know, I think they're regal cats. I think they're very, very beautiful. But they are cats, and as that, they do protest at times, and they do let you know when they're unhappy or when they're happy. Some Persians are so soft that you can do anything with them. However, Ted believes in his own personality, and he's right to be a cat. Right, this is my grooming bag. It is full of all sorts of different types of tools. Now, not everybody will know everything, but I'm quite sure that you're familiar with Johnson's cotton buds, which I use to help clean Ted's face. There is also the facial cleaner that I use for him around his eyes, and I love this stuff. I think it's really, really good, and it comes with its own pads. And then, but of course, if you don't like that, there is another one, which is a Frontline eye cleaner. Right, so you can have a selection of brushes. Oh, can't see my mini one. Now, the difference between these are, this is a wooden pin in the brush, and this is a metal pin in the brush. Your cat will tell you if they like the brush or they don't like the brush, because they don't want it used on them if they don't like it. And this is a brush that I've had for at least 30 years, and it's just a little bristle brush. These here are known as slickers, and you can get various shapes and sizes of slickers. You can get them with the little pins on the end, little bobbles on the end, and that's very good if you've got a cat with a sensitive skin. And you can get them in various sizes. Sometimes you might, this here, I don't know if you can see it, but even those have got a very tiny coat on the end of that slicker. And that does as well. Some slickers you can get, very small ones as well. That actually is a hamster slicker. I just found it, I think it's really nice for around the face. That's another one. That one, I think, is quite a harsh slicker. It doesn't have any coating to the end of the little pins, so it's quite a rough one. Then you can have different combs. This one you can see has got different lengths of pins, and there's fluff flying around, and that's very good for a Persian coat because it can get quite deep into the coat, but it will also groom the top part of it. This comb I've had almost as long as this brush. Very, very long time. And that is very good if you've got a tough little bit of... I was just looking, I wondered where... Oh, it's made in England. If you've got a little bit of a knot and you need to get under it because it's only going to work on that little bit. Again, this is a finer tooth comb. And this again is a very old comb that I've had. There's still, all these are still being made, so you wouldn't not be able to get them. So this one is quite a peculiar brush, and I use that in conjunction with a bit of coat spray. And I do that because it's got a bit of tuftiness and also quite large bristles, and it works quite well when you're using it with a spray. Oh, and this is a pocket one. It's actually the mini version of that one, so you can slip it into your pocket if you've got to do a little bit of a touch-up just before judging starts. So those are my brushes, and that is what will be... Oh, I'd forgotten this one. It's absolutely wonderful, isn't it? It's a hamster comb. I didn't know hamsters had combs, but they do. And it's lovely for Ted's face. It's just nice. So those are, oh, powder. Talcum powder. Just ordinary talc. Johnson's Baby, if you want that, that's a bit greasy. This is Yardley's. It just smells nice. Ted smells beautiful after he's been powdered. So I'll just put those away and I'll use them as I need to, but you've actually seen what they look like, so there's no mystery about what brushes or anything else that I use. Oh, I'll show you. These are nail clippers. Now, I've been around Persians for well over 30 years and I still prefer the vet to do them, but I do have a pair just in case. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to clean Ted's face. All I'm doing at the moment is just using a small slicker brush to brush his bib that we've just dried, because he dribbles. Even though he's got specialist water bowls and things, you're not going to have that toy, Ted. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. So what we're going to do is, I actually think that when you do a cat's face, it's very similar to when you are cleaning your own eyes and face. So you would blot off any old makeup, both eyes, and that's because you don't want anything to go into the other fur. And you would use no more pressure than you would use on your own eyes or a child's eyes. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on. So what I do then is this stuff, it's called Eye Envy, and I just find that it's about the best for cleaning. I put a cotton bud in, stand it up so that it doesn't spill, and then very, very carefully with a cotton bud, I just carefully go into this sort of crease, and you can see it's removing any sort of staining, and it's done very, very gently. And when I dry it with the other end, that's it. And it's still stained, so again I just dip into the... Ted, can I just see your face a little bit more? Sometimes you need to open out this little bit here, you see, and you don't do it towards the eye, you do it away from the eye, because I don't want anything going into Ted's eye. Dry it with the other end. That's it. There we go, that's that. That's that bit a bit better. Sorry, you just keep going, as far as I'm concerned, until you've got the face clean. And you just do it very, very gently. The fur below the eye. And I'm not actually holding Ted very hard. If he wanted to move and get away, he could do. But he probably realises he's going to get a sweetie after he's had this done. I'm just checking this corner of his eye again. Again, very, very carefully away from the eye, and no more pressure than you would put on. In fact, the less pressure you put on, the better, really. You just do this very, very gently. Was I leaning on you, Ted? I was leaning on you, I beg your pardon. Do this one. The same with the other eye. Sometimes you'll find that one eye is a little bit more in need than the other eye. Yes, I know, it's good fun this, isn't it, Ted? You like this bit. This bit you could put up with for hours. Clean it with the other end. That's a good boy. So basically it's all dip and clean. Can you face that way so everybody can see, but I can't see what I'm doing? There we go. I think Ted likes it because it's almost like having a massage. Eventually it just all lifts up and you come away with a clean piece of cotton, and that's all that's needed. So then what I do is I just damp one of these very special things that comes with INV, put the lid back on, soak one of these thoroughly. It's all natural ingredients in this, or else I wouldn't use it, because I do like the natural ingredients, anything, as long as it doesn't upset Ted's face. And then I give his face a wash. That's a good boy, Ted. I'm sorry, I was leaning on you, wasn't I? Most thoughtless of me. And I also do down the sides of his mouth, because he's been eating, and his chin, just to make sure that everywhere is clean. And that is basically Ted's eye care. Now, if it was a show that I was going to, I would do a little bit more in that. Oh, I need that one because I'm going to just dry his face. In that, I would probably put a little bit of corn flour underneath. Corn flour is a very, very old way of looking after a pedigree cat's face for staining or any. Oh, I'm sorry, Ted. Or anything else. See, he looks beautiful now. He's got a clean face. That's it, all around his little mouth and chin. And then with a very small slicker, very small one, very, very carefully, just do his little cheeks. So just bring his little cheeks forward and under his chin. And because he's got such a long ruff here. Oh, it's going to be good fun in January. I'm just going to put a little bit of talc on it. Just a little bit of talc. Just a little bit. There we go. Tiny little bit of talc. And then I just put that in. It helps to keep the hair separated. And also it smells delicious. Because Ted smells lovely. Smells of roses. And then just round the ears, you just bring the fur up. It's almost as if you're back combing, but you're not to pull on the fur. It's not ideal to pull on the fur, and Ted generally quite enjoys this bit. Doesn't like his tongue, but he makes up for it with his face and his ruff. So everything starts to come up. And in a way, when you're doing this, you can almost see that his ears disappear into his ruff. It's just a lovely thing to do. I don't know, perhaps I should have been a hairdresser, but I don't think I could have coped with hairdressing. So all the while, his ruff you move forward so that it sits up all around. And if, I suppose, a little bit of talc where you can see a bit of separation going on. And again, what you're not doing is you're not fluffing the talc around so that it goes in his eyes. You're just doing it very, very carefully so that it sits around his ears. When you put the little bit of talc in, you just put it in gently and rub it slightly into the fur, because all you're doing, it's like, I suppose the equivalent is if you were using a dry shampoo in your hair, and then you just brush it so that it brushes a little bit so that it just doesn't separate. It just comes together in a nice bit of a sort of cloud around his head, like that. And I think that Ted looks beautiful, and that's just really very, very cool. Now, if I was a very, very, very good groomer, or hobbyist groomer, I would know how to do that face so that every single hair was perfect. But I'm not. I just groom to the standard that I'm able to groom to. And it's actually very soothing grooming. I find it soothing. Especially as Ted will let me play with this for ages. Because he knows that he's going to get a sweetie.